8:30, 8:25 Monday morning, and this is episode 6 of the Monday morning briefing. I've been here for probably 30, 45 minutes, somewhere around there, but just kind of moving a little slow this morning, trying to get everything lined out. We had a heifer show yesterday in Wharton, and so my little girl was showing her heifer there, and y'all may have seen that on our Instagram stories. She did pretty good. She ended up with 2/4 and 2/3, so that's not too bad. She had a really good class. There was some really good heifers in that class. I think there was six entries in her class, but it was really good. Like, she really had some good competition in that class, and so we were glad that she placed 3rd or 4th in each class, because it was really competitive, and so that's always a good deal. But her heifer's really nice. I don't know anything about showing cows. I didn't grow up showing cows. I showed hogs, and I showed some broilers and chickens. And then we showed horses and roped, and that was all we did. So I didn't show a lot of steers and stuff. Had a lot of friends of mine that showed steers and heifers, and so I spent a lot of time in the steer barn at our county show and stuff, but never really got into it. So this is all learning experience for me, and for the kids as well, obviously. But Claudia is the one that knows all about that. She showed at Fort Worth and Houston and scrambled at Houston and all that stuff. So that's a second nature for her, so she's teaching us all. So it's been a lot of fun. But yesterday we got there, we left the house at, I don't remember, probably 6, something like that. I know it was dark. We got loaded up and we left. It's probably an hour drive to Wharton from where we are. And so we got there and got set up, and then we didn't get home until, I guess it was about 9:30 when we got home, 9:30, somewhere around there. So it was a very long day, very good show. They had a lot of people there, as they had a good turnout. And so it just took some time, and we didn't get home till late. So by the time we got everybody fed and tucked in and everything, and then went inside and put the kids to bed and stuff, and then all that, I just did not want to get up this morning. And usually I'm up around 5:30 or so, and usually have some coffee and read or whatever, and get ready to go, and then try to get here early so we can do this video. But today that didn't happen, so I'm running a little bit late, so might end up having somebody knock on the door at some point, wants to bring something in or come in for coffee or whatever. We have had a few people come by just to visit and have a cup of coffee and see the shop and stuff, so that's been pretty good. But this week is Halloween week, and so we've got a lot to do this week. This weekend we're having a birthday party for my little boy, and so his birthday's in November, but we're doing it Halloween because it just worked out better for some of our friends and stuff to come for that. So we're going to do that. Hang out, and then of course Saturday night we will be doing the trick-or-treating thing. They're doing the trunk-or-treat, so we're getting ready for that, and we're going to hand out candy at my mom's and here. And so we won't hand out candy at our house because we live out in the country, and so our nearest neighbor's pretty good ways away, so I'm imagining people will not be roaming around the county roads trying to find candy. So we're just going to do it all here, but we're going to do maybe throw up a few little decorations and spook the place up a little bit, and go from there. But this week, or last week, we got quite a bit done. Claudia's learning how to sew on the Cobra Class 4, and she's doing a fantastic job. We went ahead and burned an entire side of Herman Oak 13, 15-ounce leather for a bunch of rough out belts. If you follow us on social media, you've probably seen that I've sold a few of these occasionally. The only reason that we had those available was because we ended up having somebody order one, and if I'm making one, I might as well make 2 or 3. Just rough out belts are easy to make, and they're pretty popular, and so we sold those. We did it 2 different times, made up a couple extra ones, and both times they sold. So I told her, I said, well, this would be good practice for you for learning how to sew on the machine and get a little more confident. So I went ahead and stripped up an entire side. If you're wondering how many belts you can get out of a side of leather, the way I do it, which I try to block out the butt end of a hide and then the neck end. If you've seen that video, go check that out on how I show you how I cut my belt blanks. But I'll cut that, and then I'll have straight edge and cut down to the belly where it starts getting kind of rough, and then we'll stop. But I was able to get 15 belts out of that one side, and so that's pretty good. So if you're trying to do some math and figure out, is it worth buying a whole side of leather or buying belt blanks, it's always going to be cheaper to buy a whole side of leather and cut your parts. But sometimes it's expensive, especially if you've got one belt order and you're just starting out and you're going to make one belt, or you want to make somebody a belt for Christmas. Buying a $200 side of leather is sometimes a little bit pricey, and it's a little bit hard to do. But if you do buy a side of leather, you're going to be able to get anywhere from 13 to 15 belts out of that side, depending on how deep it is and depending on the quality of the side. We did have, I guess we got 14 because we did have one spot there I had to burn that had a butcher cut in it. And if you were lining that belt, it wouldn't matter. But on a rough out belt, all I do is cut the leather out and we make it backwards basically. So the grain side is the inside and then we sew it. And the sewing is just what we would call a dummy stitch. It's just there for decoration, or a decorative stitch if you don't like the word dummy. But there's no reason to line them because the grain side is on the inside, so it looks like it's lined, but really it's just one single piece of leather. And so they make really good gifts, really good belts to keep on the wall. People like just a nice work belt, rough out. You can still tool initials or a brand on the tip if you want to. But we got all those sewn. We did have a couple that the machine tried to eat, and we don't know. You know, anytime you've got a new operator on a machine, there's no way to tell. She may have been holding it a little bit or trying to turn it, and it just slowed it down, but it just kind of caused some stitches that were, you know, really close together, so stitch length kind of messed up. I really think we had a little issue going on there for a second. I'm not sure what the deal was, but I think the machine was kind of having a little bit of trouble. I don't think it was necessarily something that she did, but her being the new operator and a rookie, it's probably that, but she definitely, you know, sewed them all up really well. And so we've just got a few here that will go in the scrap bin, and we'll do away with those, and the rest of them, we'll finish those out I don't know what that was. We'll finish those out this week. We've got to slick the edges, oil them, condition them, and then we'll have them on the website available. This will probably be an item that we'll start trying to have available on the website. We did size 34, I think I did 34, 36, 38, and 40 are the belt sizes that we ended up creating for these. And that's usually a good deal. If you're trying to make some stock belts, those measurements from 34 to 40, those are usually some pretty good measurements. Most of your people are going to fall into that. Some people are going to be, you know, over, and some people are going to be under, but in general, the big part of the bell curve is going to be in that range somewhere. Real quick, on a rough out belt, it's really hard to do these if you're ordering, say, 910 and 3/4. You can't just take that 910 and turn it over and use that rough out side, because technically that's a machined part of that hide, because they take that hide and run it through a leveling machine that actually skives the back side of the whole hide down in order to get it to a consistent weight that you're looking for. And it just doesn't look like rough out. It doesn't look really pretty. So if you are going to do rough out belts, I would just suggest ordering your finished weight in leather. So if you want your belts to finish out at 12 ounce, go ahead and order 10 to 12 ounce or 12, 14 ounce and make your belts out of that. It's just going to make your job a lot easier. And you don't, because you can't use the machine side. You can, I mean, you can do whatever you want, but I would not recommend using a leveled down side and using the rough out part of that or the back side of that as a rough out belt. It just doesn't look rough out, it looks machined. And so I wouldn't do that, but you can definitely do that. Also, if you're gonna make single ply belts, say you don't have a sewing machine and you don't want to have to line them or whatever, you can order that same 12, 14 or whatever, 10, 12, something like that, and then just use the grain side, and they don't necessarily need to be lined. A lot of people like just a nice, thick, heavy piece of leather with some oil on it, maybe initials on the end or something, and go from there. So there's no reason to stitch them. There's no reason to do anything to them. You can buck stitch them if they want something just kind of cool and different. You can do that. But that's what I would recommend, is doing it. These are 13, 15, and they're actually a little bit too heavy, but especially down this country and around here, a lot of people, they see thick leather, they think it's better leather. A lot of times that's not necessarily the case. But with Herman Oak, thick leather definitely has more body, but I've seen thick leather from other companies that doesn't have as much body as a piece of Herman Oak 10 ounce does. So the thickness, I'd rather see a nice firm piece of leather that's got some body to it that's thinner than I would a real heavy piece of floppy leather. So we want to be sure that you're ordering what you want, the finished product looks the way you want it to. Another thing that I did last week was I experimented with the two-tone clutch wallet that I'm making. I did this two-tone job, and it probably looks good from 4 feet away. I did it two-tone with turquoise Angelus paint, and I watered the paint down and did that. And it worked out pretty good, but the paint still, I'm still seeing, as I tried to antique this, and I'm still seeing some of the leather coming through. I'm going to go ahead and finish it. I'm going to play with it some more this week and see if I can get it figured out. And a lot of people online had asked, why don't you just use dye? If you're going to two-tone, why would you use paint? Why wouldn't you just use dye? The reason is I have a turquoise dye from Angelus, and I haven't played with it a whole lot, but it's really old. And every time I've put it on leather here lately, I may need to shake it, or just, I don't know if there may be something wrong with the dye the particular bottle that I have. It might have just gotten too hot or gotten too cold or something. But it doesn't come out bright turquoise like this, and this is what I wanted, was a bright turquoise look. And so it's going to look good when it's finished out, but man, if you have probably a dye would probably work better. But we're going to continue working on this. This is part of experimentation. It's part of trying to figure out if something's going to work or not, is you've got to burn up some leather and try it. And so we're trying it. Like I said, it doesn't look horrible, but I can see a little bit of the natural leather color bleeding through right here. So I'm going to try to fix that this week and see how that comes out. Either way, it's going to be a cool clutch wallet, and I think it'll look neat. Another thing we've got coming is the checkbook cover project video. We're going to work hard on that this week. I'm going to try to get it out this week. I don't know if I can. We've got quite a bit of stuff going on. I've got 2 saddles that we're going to be finishing up that we'll talk about in a minute. And so I don't know if I can, but I'm going to push to get it done because this is a great Christmas item. I put a little teaser out on Facebook and Instagram about whether y'all would like to see a project video on making a simple checkbook cover. The project video, they'll be tooled, obviously. Everybody said, yes, please, please, please. I've got orders for these and this and that. And so I'll be real honest with you, these are really not that difficult to put together. It's basically one body piece, and then you've got a pocket on each side that holds the checkbook and the register. And so there's not a lot of construction tips in here. It's going to be pretty much just like making a little small notebook or a little small wallet or something. But I will be doing a pattern pack mainly so that you have a bunch of floral options. This one I just put together for the shop checkbook cover because I didn't have one for it. And it's put together out of this oil tan that I got from Robert at Lewis Leather Sales. And it makes a really, really nice, simple checkbook cover. It lasts forever. And it just kind of clean and plain. But the ones in the video we'll do them tooled, and what I'll probably do is on the tooling pattern packs, there'll be a bunch of different, I don't know how many yet, but there'll be a bunch of different tooling windows. And so I'm trying to get you guys used to the term tooling window, because that's basically, you could take that and put it on a bunch of different things. These are really close to the same size depending on your patterns to a roper wallet. A lot of people have asked about doing a roper wallet, and we will get to one of those. But they're basically almost the same size as a checkbook cover. So if you buy the checkbook cover pattern pack, we're going to have the tooling windows in there with all kinds of different floral patterns and stuff. You could use those on your roper wallets as well. You could also probably expand them out and use them for, say, a oil field tally book. You'd have to really enlarge them on a copier or something, and we'll do probably a tally book at some point as well. But the tooling windows, those will be easy because you can use the same one on front, same one on back, 2 different ones, one for the front, one for a different one for the back. You could do a floral one on the front and basket stamp on the back. There's a lot of different things you can do with those. But then we'll also have the dimensions. I'm going to adjust this one a little bit. It's a little big for these checks, these checkbooks here. But we'll get this refined and get this pattern pack going this week. And hopefully, it should be a quick video. It shouldn't take very long to do. I might do 2 of them in the video. I've got a couple checkbook covers I need to make for customers, so we'll see how that goes. Another couple things I got done last week was these 2 belts tooled and the matching scabbard or sheath. Got those tooled, and Claudia got those dyed, so those are ready to paint. We got to do some painted flowers on those and finish those up. I've also got to make a shave kit, so I'll be cutting that out this morning. I'm going to try to get back into my groove of cutting on Mondays. So everybody runs their shop a little different. Everybody has a different way. And Claudia asked me last week, like, what do you want to do? Like, what's your schedule as we get busier here during the Christmas season? Where do you want me to be, like, as far as scheduling, and how's your process? Like, how do you decide what you're going to work on? I said, well, really, I come into the shop and I get a cup of coffee and I wander about for about 30 minutes and figure out what's on fire. If there's a fire, being that something that has to be done because we promised it to a customer, or it needs to ship by a certain date, or whatever that might be, then I work on that. If there are no fires, then I pick out what I want to work on that morning based on my energy level. Then after that, I try to fit in my saddles for the bulk of the day. And so that's really not a plan. So don't follow that plan. What we used to do in the big shop when we had people working for us and we had 2 or 3 craftsmen in there and that kind of thing, and Jody was running the front of the store, she would get together everything that we needed to do that week, and I would usually spend either Fridays or Mondays, and sometimes on Saturday. If I was in the shop, I would do it on Saturday. But I would spend some time either Friday, Saturday, or Monday, and I would cut everything for the week for everybody. So if Jim needed stuff for saddles, those were usually cut when he got the order. I had a whole box with all the parts in there. But if he needed something extra or needed an extra piece or maybe a breast collar that we forgot about or something, I'd cut all that. Then for the boys that were working with us, I would cut all the belts, all the scabbards, all the binders or book covers, whatever they were. I would cut everything for that week. And that way we had everything cut. I knew we had leather. And then that gave us some time, too, to do a leather inventory to make sure that we had enough leather for the upcoming weeks. So if I cut the last side of 910, I knew the next week we were going to have to do more belts. So that would give us some time to hunt down some more leather if we didn't have some more coming already. So that's kind of the plan I'm going to go back to. I'm going to spend today, I'm going to cut everything I can on my cut list that we need to, that we can get out this week. And then this afternoon, I'll probably start tooling some of those pieces because until they're tooled, they can't move forward. So that's kind of the main focus is getting everything tooled, and then once it's tooled, everything goes together pretty quickly. So everybody's got their own process, their own deal, and we'll probably visit more about that kind of stuff as far as workload maintenance, workflow within the shop, and handling that kind of stuff. But that's just like something little that I've kind of been lazy about for the last 3 or 4 years probably, because it's just been me and Freddie. And which meant that Freddie was usually, when we were in Bryan, we had lots of repair all the time because people would just drop by and drop stuff off. So he was usually busy with repairs, and so that pretty much meant that I was doing all the custom and the saddles. And we dropped down on how much we were taking. I was real careful not to take too much because I knew I had to stay on the saddles as well. And so I've kind of changed the way now. It's kind of been ad hoc, if you will. I just come into the shop and, I need to do a belt today because it's got to ship by Wednesday. Cut that one out, tool it, paint it when I get a chance before Wednesday, and finish it. But that's kind of it's kind of a haphazard way to do it, and I want to get back into a schedule to where I know every week coming in, here's all the pieces, here's what I've got to do, and then we can get after it, and I don't have to worry about if I'm doing enough or what to work on next. And so we'll dive into more workflow stuff because I've tried all kinds of things. I've tried process after process. Even at one point in the shop, we had a big 4x8 sheet of dry erase board that we had gridded out to where we had the days of the week and we were a week ahead. We could kind of schedule everything out and write it on the board, and that seemed to work pretty good. But it's still, I think the biggest thing with any process is you can drive yourself nuts and really get lost in the details and spend more time planning than you are working when it comes to workflow and processes within a workshop. I think the main thing is pick something out that you like, that seems to work for you, and then follow it. Because we would put something in place, and I know it would drive everybody crazy. Nobody ever said anything, but I'm sure it drove everybody nuts. But we'd put a new system in place. This is the way we're going to handle the jobs. This clipboard and this and that and this and that. And then we'd switch. Okay, now we're going to do this board deal. And the only reason we were switching was because you get bored with one way, or you don't follow it like you're supposed to. You weren't using the tool the way you had designed it, and so it didn't work. The system fell apart. And so any system that you set up, you have to have support for. That system has to work. Everybody's got to play their role. And so if it's just you in the shop by yourself, it makes it real easy because it's just you. If it's just you in your shop, it kind of sucks too because there's nobody there to keep you accountable. So you end up just kind of doing what you want. And now I got Claudia. She'll keep me accountable and keep cracking the whip, and make sure that I'm working on what I need to be working on. And it's good to have somebody overseeing some of your business so that you can focus on the work and somebody else is focused on the details and when this and when that needs to go out and has this person been invoiced and those kind of things. If you're doing this for a hobby, if you're doing leather work for a hobby and you're just making stuff and enjoying the leather work and you're not really selling, maybe sell something here and there, but mainly just doing it for yourself, then congratulations, you don't have to worry about none of this stuff. You can work on whatever you want, whenever you want to work on it. But if you're running, and that's an awesome thing, but if you're running, trying to run a little side business or something like that, it's a good idea to go ahead and start thinking about some of your workflow process and how you're going to handle your orders and stuff as you grow, if you want to grow. But it's just good, even if you're going to stay one man, side deal, nothing big, still get you a little process that works for you, and then try to develop that over time and stick with it. It'll make your job a lot easier, because I'm really not good at it, and sometimes it's just fires all over the place in here. Not literally, thank God, because they can't replace most of this stuff. That would be horrible. Did not finish the chaps last week. Gonna try to do that too. I'm gonna cut out a back belt today and get those done, but they're on their way out. They're pretty well ready to roll. And we'll get those wrapped up and get those shipped off to Scott Summerlot. If y'all haven't checked out Scott Summerlot's stuff, be sure and check him out on Instagram, Scott Summerlot Originals. He does some really neat stuff. He does a little bit of gun engraving, a lot of buckles, a lot of knife engraving. He doesn't make knives, but he'll take knives and engrave on them. Really neat stuff. But yeah, he's got a really cool business. In fact, he's going to be coming up here pretty quick on the podcast. The podcast, thank you again. I know I thanked y'all last week, but thank you again. It's doing really, really well. We've already hit over 3,000 downloads. I don't know what that means. I'm used to YouTube and my website, Google Analytics, and that kind of stuff. So I guess with podcasts, the number of times it's downloaded is one of the main analytics that you look at, one of the main things. It's all gobbledygook to me. I don't really understand it all. I just know, hey, if 3,000 people listen to it, or at least it was listened to by 3 guys 3,000 times, I don't know. But that's cool. So I really appreciate it. Everybody seemed to really like the Odin Leather Goods interview, and that was a really good one. I didn't know it was going to go take a business turn and talk a lot about business and, you know, kind of how he runs his business and all that kind of stuff. So it was really interesting. But that's what I want this podcast to be like. I don't really want a format or know where it's going to go. Sometimes we might just get a craftsman on there and just shoot the breeze and talk about nothing about what they do. I don't know where it's going to go. But it was a lot of fun with Odin. Everybody seemed to really like that. There's a lot of people that follow him. He's got a really big following, and so it was cool to get somebody's perspective that's not in the cowboy type stuff. I think his stuff is really classy and clean, and I like his work. But I wouldn't call it Western really, which I think is cool because he's bringing the leather goods world, the leather working world, into, as he said, the uptown market, which I like that term. Somebody called it hipster type stuff, and I don't really like the hipster term. Not that I have anything against hipsters. If you're out there, I don't have anything against that. I just that term to me, it's like it doesn't really explain. But uptown leather, like I think that really is a good perspective because you can see a guy, you know, kind of a business casual, you know, working in downtown somewhere, carrying one of his nice bags or wearing some of his belts or stuff like that. So I think that's a really good deal. It just kind of brings more people to the leather market and gives us all a little bit more flexibility to move around. We're not all just making, you know, Sheridan tooled belts, or we're not all just doing, you know, rough out belts. You know, there's room for everybody. And so I agreed with him a lot on that podcast. And you guys seem to really like it too from the feedback that I've been getting. We've got a really good one coming up this week, so you'll have to wait and see who that is as soon as we get that edited and posted. I know last week, I think Odin's went out on Tuesday. I don't know when this one will go out. It'll be this week, and it'll be before Friday, hopefully. But I don't really have a set post date, and so there'll be some weeks where we may do 2 of them. I'm trying to get ahead of myself a little bit on these, and of course I'm also learning about scheduling around other makers' schedules and trying to get that done. So I don't really have a post date. We'll probably, as we go along, get a few more down in the pipeline and stuff on the podcast. We'll probably set to where, you know, hey, we try to get it out on Wednesday or Thursday or whatever day it ends up being. But probably just like everything else I do, it'll be haphazard, chaotic. The Monday morning briefing videos, they're usually, the last 3 I think have gone out really late Monday night. And again, the only reason that is I'm usually done editing this video that I'm working on right now. I'm usually done with it and loading it to YouTube by 10 or 11 o'clock. This one might be by lunch. But it takes from then all the way until like 7 o'clock, if not later, to get loaded to YouTube. And so I think that's just a lot of my internet connection here. It's not hyper speed, you know, it's not super fast, but it's not bad. It's a lot better than it was trying to do it at the other shop where we had even slower internet there. So it's working out good. It's just understand that the Monday morning briefing videos will go out Monday evening or early. You can watch them early Tuesday morning. So you and I can have coffee together Tuesday morning, which what difference does it make? Do this. Don't work on Mondays. Have a 3-day weekend every weekend. Then Tuesday will be your Monday morning briefing video. Be right on time. I'm gonna get some coffee and I want to show y'all something. So my wife's deer made it to the shop. This is her deer from last year. She shot it in Brazos County. It's the nicest deer she shot to date, and it scored 148 and 6/8. And so I know nothing about that as far as like how to score these things, whatever. I do know that that's a pretty good score, especially for a Brazos County deer. They're just not that many really big bucks in that county. There are, but it's not like being down in South Texas or out in West Texas or up in the mountains and stuff up there with a big mule deer and stuff like that. And so for that little area, that is a really nice deer. So with it being her best deer to date and her last deer before we moved from there, we ended up having our buddy Bobby Merchant with Trophy Room Taxidermy there in Bryan. He has done all of her mounts and all of our pelts from our trapping and stuff like that. And so he did this pedestal mount. And on this pedestal mount, the base of it has some inlets right here, just where this is plywood. These areas, there's 3 of them, one on the front, one on each side. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna cut leather to inset in there, and that'll be tooled. We'll tool those pieces, floral. I'm not sure exactly artwork wise what I'm gonna do yet, but I'm gonna do something pretty cool. So the whole piece will be really neat looking. It'll be a good conversation piece. We'll probably put the score hidden in the tooling somewhere, so it'll always be there and we'll always know what it's scored as. But that's what we're gonna do with this mount. I really like the pedestal mounts. We've done these before with Bobby. If you've been following us for a long time, you've probably seen where we've done this. The back piece here, we'll do a piece of leather. Bobby would send me a tracing of the particular mount that the piece was gonna go on, and then I would tool that, and I would usually put the ranch where it was shot, or the county that it was shot, and then the score as well. And then he would inlay that on the back side of the deer here, because some of these mounts here like this, you can mount them on the wall as well. He does a way of mounting this one on the wall, or these pedestal mounts, but then that way you could see the tooling behind there. But on hers, we decided to go ahead and just do the base and then do those inlaid pieces on the side. There's not one in the back, there won't be one back there, so that way if you ever put it against the wall or whatever, there's no reason to have one back there. But I think it turned out really cool. Bobby did an amazing job, he always does. It's kind of like, sure, everybody's got their own taxidermist and their place they like to go, but I love going in their shops because it's just, there's no telling what kind of critter you're gonna see them working on. And he's always got something neat going on. And so, but if you're around Brazos County or anywhere looking for a really good taxidermist to work on your deer for this year, or anything else for that matter, look up Bobby Merchant with Trophy Room Taxidermy. He's on Instagram and Facebook, and does a really neat job. So, but that's what we're gonna be doing with this piece. I'm gonna get some measurements today and go ahead and cut some leather and get those ready to go so I can start working on them whenever I get a chance. And we will be doing a video of the process. It'd probably just be 1 or 2 videos maybe, just kind of showing how I'm going to do that, because this is actually really easy to do. If you're looking for anything that you can do that's different using leather, any kind of cabinetry work or furniture or any kind of little things, you can glue leather to wood really easy with just contact cement. And so that's what we'll do here is I'll tool the pieces. I'll probably edge them and die them maybe, depending on how tightly they fit. And then we'll put glue here, glue on the leather, glue there, glue on the leather, and then we'll put it in place. And they actually, surprisingly, there's no nails. You don't have to put any nails. Now you can use some of those decorative upholstery tacks and tack the corners or whatever you want to do. It's going to be more decorative because the glue actually is enough to hold that in place without any kind of problem. We've done staircases where we've done the faceboard of each step. We've done a lot of different types of stuff. I've done stuff inside horse trailers in the cabinets, did cabinet door inlays and stuff like that. Leather to wood gluing, not a problem. So anything that you have an idea for, you can always glue it there. But that video will be coming out pretty soon. Hopefully we'll get that done in the next week or 2, and we'll keep you posted here on this too as well. But I'm really proud of her with that deer. I think she did a really good job, and so we're glad to have it in the shop on display. And if you're ever come by, you can check it out and the others that she's got in here as well. Saddles for this week, we got the roper ready to go. I didn't quite get it done last week, but it's got the seat in there. That is fit and final cut and everything. Just got to do a couple little trim here and there and just kind of sand it up, make sure everything's straight and square. And then we'll get this seat in. That'll probably go in this afternoon. And we'll go ahead and sew. On my ropers, I do a dummy stitch or decorative stitch around the edge of my housings, my seat and fenders and that kind of stuff. On my ranch saddles, I do not, just because there's no reason for it to be there. And on a ranch saddle, as hard as they are on them, I don't put stuff there that doesn't have a purpose. We'll get that sewn and edged and slicked, and then we'll put that seat in, and this saddle will be rolling pretty quickly. The ranch saddle, we got the skirts plugged, the rigging in, so that's our C-rig there. There's a plug in here that goes, just a little half moon shaped piece of leather that goes in there, and then we sew that in place as well so that that D is actually riding on that plug as well as those rivets. So that makes it really, really stout. And got it screwed in, it's wooled, back riggings are sewn, so this is ready for housing. So we'll be fitting housings today as well, and get those on there and get those fitted and everything. Then we'll have it caught up with this one. So hopefully this week I can get this one pretty close to being done. So our repairs are kind of coming in. We took a couple saddles in last week, a Benton Moore saddle that we've got to replace a binder on, and then a J Nordley that we just need to do a little touch up here and there, and new latigo and stuff like that. This Benton Moore is going to be a fun one to replace the binder on. He wants me to replace this because it's got a guy's name on it, and it's a tripping saddle, and that cantle height is probably 1.5 inches, 2 inches, 1.75 inches, somewhere around there. And so the binder, I mean, I can't even get my finger underneath there. So I haven't done one this low ever, but I've heard older guys than me who have done a lot of them that short. So I'm eager to see how hard this is going to be. But we're just going to take this off, put a new one on. I have a feeling I'm going to have heck with it. But we'll do it. I've got to do it because at some point I may end up having to build one with a binder or a cantle height that low. And so I'm going to go ahead and give it a whirl. But I think it's going to be a pain in the butt. But we'll see. Well, that's all I got for you this week, guys. This is Halloween week, so get out there, do some trick-or-treating, trunk or treats, whatever you've got going on in your area. Go do that. Have fun. And be sure not to steal all the good candy from your kids. Let them have some of it. It is their day. We're going to be doing the trunk or treat here on Saturday from 5 to 7, and then we'll be over at my mom's house handing out candy there. And of course, kids going around town and stuff. We've got some cousins coming in, so it's going to be kind of a busy Saturday. And then we'll be right back in here in the shop on Monday and hammer down to Thanksgiving. So we'll be really busy trying to get everything going. We're in full Christmas swing. So if you need any ideas for projects or anything like that, be sure to visit dgsaddlery.com. And while you're there, be sure and sign up for the Leathercraft newsletter. You need to become a part of that, as we'll be sending more and more stuff out throughout the year. And we'll be working on that project video for the checkbook cover this week as well. Hopefully, fingers crossed, we can get that out of here this week. If not, it'll be the first part of next week. But I think that'll be a really good Christmas gift idea for your shop and for things to make for your customers, or just gifts for family members. Be sure and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Share it with a friend. We'll see you next week.